As we move on, without much ado, we want to welcome another mother of a generation. She's a mother of generation. I've been under her tutelage for a year now. We can see the impact that she has been making across the globe, not only in South Africa alone. She has actually given birth to a daughter that has taken after her footstep, and we can see from there in the first speaker, that is person of Ambassador Austria. Now, join me as I welcome Professor Mehreen Mia as she take up the mic.
Thank you very much, my dear brother Lucas, Ambassador Lucas. It's lovely to be here. I greet everyone in the universal greeting of peace and blessings. I have to acknowledge Professor Dr. Queen Elizabeth Lucas, of course, our beloved mentor and leader. And I cannot go without acknowledging Dr. TPS. Much, much blessings, sir. It really is an honor to always have you and to learn from you. I know every time I see Dr. TPS, I write down notes. It's just a given that I'm going to write something down when he speaks.
I am
He's an
ready.
epitome of leader, leadership, of course. I greet everyone again with warm blessings. I do see others on not with video. I greet you, ma'am, Dr. Favored Evergreen. I enjoyed your discussion points on the WhatsApp lessons as well. Thank you very much for those. I'm talking about many C's, and you know, if we keep listening to people, you'll hear many, many different C's coming up, some of the same ones coming up, and everyone's perceptions are going to be a little bit different. But the ideal is for us to acknowledge that every one of them has a link, because the quality of our lives ultimately depends on the qualities of our relationships. Everything about what we do is a relationship. Whether you're walking into a store, whether you're in your home with your family, whether you're in a school lecturing or teaching, whether you are traveling, somehow you are forming a bond or relationship. And sometimes are somewhat important, tend to take a back seat because of life stresses. And life stresses tend to take priority. And when that happens, we deprioritize the closest relationships. That becomes an almost oversight, which is actually very sad. Because if you look at our wellness, our holistic wellness is very directly linked to being connected to those we love, to being connected with our source of inspiration, even if it is your source of your guide from above. The point is that level of connectedness is your key to growing you. And if you value your relationships, then the stresses that life has that's going to pour down on you no matter what part of life you're in, it will allow you to rather say, here is where I need to draw a barrier, and here is where I need to place my relationships on the side, focus on me to grow through what I'm going through, and then not neglect what I'm going through. Because the disconnection leads to less communication. And when there becomes less communication, issues start arising. Relationships start to find challenges. And many people seem to find that working on relationships when it's being neglected for too long becomes very difficult. And I say that because of me seeing so many couples, so many families, so many siblings that come to me. And the problem that they have is there becomes this miscommunication for a long period of time because of pride, because of ego. Nobody wants to be the first one to pick up the phone to make contact again. Nobody wants to be the first person to say, I'm sorry again. Nobody wants to be the first to reach out again. Between family members, for example, nobody wants to be the first to draw the line of peace. So time lapses and eventually life lapses. And then comes a scenario where you all have to face each other, but you don't know how. And yet when you do eventually have to speak, what happens? You realize that if one of us just took the time to say the sorry or to pick up the phone or to make that communication happen, we would have felt the connectedness immediately and we wouldn't have lost that much time. And we all know time is something we don't get back. When you've lost the time, how are you going to regain it? You don't regain it. So you need to be so in tune with yourself that when I want to find me, I need to know what are my levels of connectedness to get me. And the number one is what everybody speaks about is commitment. Many people talk of commitment and they talk of commitment to other people. I'm going to say, what about my commitment to me? Do I understand that I have a commitment to myself before I have a commitment to other people? Yes, I have to stay committed to my goals. Yes, I have to stay committed to my family. Yes, I have to stay committed to my responsibilities. I have to stay committed to everything. But above all else, I have to be committed to myself. Because if I am not committed to me, then how am I going to commit myself to anything else? Of me in my individuality. I will know mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I will know when my down moments come up. I will be so in tune with myself that I know I'm committed to being me first, because from me, I got to give off. Therefore, I'm going to be committed to myself to learn different steps, to keep learning, to keep growing. And I will value my relationships and connectedness through that developing commitment to myself. Because in a state of families, in a state of a couple, in a state of any form of relationship you have, a simple argument, a simple malnourished word between two people can create such a huge issue of non-compromise. And that will mean that I don't get exactly what I want from you anymore. That's okay. But am I committed to myself, therefore committed to this relationship, to understand that I can agree to disagree with somebody? Because are our thoughts and our actions actually reflecting commitment in the relationships we have? And I'm going to pose that question to everybody who's listening to us to keep reflecting on. The thoughts that you are having, the actions that you progress to do, are those actions and your thoughts reflecting your commitment to yourself and your commitment to your relationships? Because if they're not, then you need to be committed to yourself enough to understand, how can I then adjust myself to become more committed, to become more in tune with myself, to get that connection that I need? Because remember, we're not alone in relationships, as one of the other speakers had said. No relationship has you by yourself. And if you're feeling alone in your relationships, then something is happening that's requiring to you to have a red flash mark. Why am I feeling alone even though I'm with these people? And people are not going to fix that aloneness. You have to be so in tune with you to understand, where does it come from? What am I missing? Where are my gaps? Because the to-dos of every life, the tasks of life, they can become like a fog. And those can sometimes bind your relationships. So you need to be able to learn, how do I clear the air? How do I remember the connectedness with my people, with my colleagues, with my family, with people that I love, so that the negative thoughts and the negative feelings don't create that disconnection? Because when we feel the disconnection, then even good, fond memories can take a backseat. How often have I found people that come to me that are now going through a divorce, but they come to me because they say, let's just see what we can do. How is it? And one of the questions we always pose to people is, what led you to become partners anyway? What made you beginning? Because you have to have found something in the person that was in tune with you in a relationship for you to want to build to become married. Something about you was good. What was that? And how is it that two people who at some point felt they were two peas in a pod now feel like they're two separate parts of an ocean, and yet can't talk to each other, they can't relate to each other, there's nothing about them that's common ground? Is there not something amiss there? So when we ask them, because the first thing they say is, I can't believe I married somebody like you, then what was your goal back then to get married? So there's a lot of stuff that you have to keep knowing about yourself, because you forget. Because of the pain and the inconsistencies, you tend to forget what was your positives. You tend to forget. Like when people get angry, what is the first thing they pick on? The wrongs of the person they're angry with. They would pick on everything bad about the person. In an argument between people, they would pick on everything that is from the past. Why? Because those are the groundings of the negatives, because you've got nothing else to fall back on. We need to feel a sense of connectedness to the commitment, and then get to know ourselves through getting to know other people, because we cannot do anything in life, I truly believe this, without having a sense of compassion. Compassion for me is key. Compassion is key to humanitarian work. Compassion is key for us to do what we have to do. Compassion is key to just being humane, because having compassion and being caring, being kind, these are all things that are necessary for any relationship to work. And when this happens, it's almost like a given. And yet somehow showing a sense of compassion becomes so difficult for so many. If I feel hurt, if I feel resentful, or if I feel disconnected, for example, then I'm not going to find compassion for that person that I'm dissociating from. I'm going to actually want to hurt them more. Why is this so with human nature? When a relationship has been neglected, many people tend to find that compassion has been destroyed. They don't see compassion for the person that they are angry with. They don't see compassion for the person who's done wrong against them. Yet, are you compassionate enough with yourself? Because if I am with myself, then I will be able to identify that this is required for the next person. We tend to always allow the emotion to take control instead of us being in control of it. Compassion becomes your key to underlying everything else. And when you don't share compassion, when you cannot agree to disagree, when you are disconnected, then that does further damage. It interrupts even your own trying of connection with yourself. And then what does that do? That stops communication, the other C, the very important C. That communication that everybody wants to please keep going, even though they're not willing to make the first step to keep happening. Without the communication, everything is amiss. But again, I'm going to foster and say communication with everyone else, like we're talking to each other here, is great. I talk to people in my home is great. Communicating with the world is great. But how do I communicate with myself? What is my connectedness, commitment, and my communication with myself to ensure that the relationships I am trying to control are actually controlled by myself? Is what I'm saying to people actually what I feel? Is what I say to people actually what I want them to hear? Is how I'm saying it in the tone that I wish to use? These are communication skills. And if again, you don't identify your own communication skills with yourself, then are you communicating with people because of outside validation? Somebody needs to validate that you are able to communicate. Communication is key. Why? Because when I'm wanting to compromise anything, how am I going to learn the next C of compromise without knowing the essence of how to communicate? Compromising is essential for any healthy relationship. If you're not willing to compromise, then obviously you're contributing to a sense of resentment. You contribute to a sense of dissatisfaction. But compromise is also just as important because when I'm compromising or I have a level of compromise, I am able to understand. I'm looking to try to understand outside of me. I'm looking to agree to disagree. I'm looking to see that there is respect between us. And I want to maintain that respect without having to dissolve. So these C's all come together because relationships are all about adjusting the C's as the differences keep arising. In every relationship, no matter what kind of relationship, there will always be differences. There will always be hiccups. There will always be stuff that will come up that would question mark anything. But these are C's that I think have to apply to a person before they apply to the relationship. You are the individual in that relationship. Therefore, how do you communicate with yourself? If I talk commitment, how are you committed to yourself in that relationship? If I talk compromise, what are your levels of compromise that you as an individual are willing to go through to make that relationship work? Every one of these is still ultimately linked to you as an individual. Because in any relationship, nobody's a mind reader. If I'm not going to be able to say something that I feel is bad or communicate something that I feel is good, my person that I'm with or networking with is never going to know whether it's good or bad. But I would automatically expect them to know this, and we all know expectancy is the highest rate of how you're going to find difficulty. You find problems, you create disheartened, your heart gets broken. Why? Because I expected that person to know this about me. They didn't get a memo to say that they need to know that about you. You didn't say that they need to know this about you. So the levels of any form of C is first about you as an individual. Whether it's about compromise, whether it's about commitment, whether it's about anything, it's first about you. Because I truly believe that you communicate only once you've committed. I'm communicating on this platform because I'm committed to it. And therefore, if I'm committed, what is my level of commitment? I want to commit on this platform. Why? Because I have a passion for what I wish to share and what I want to learn. Why? Because I have a commitment to myself. I want to learn more because the more I learn, the more benefit I will be able to give others while I communicate. This is who I am. This is my passion. But I only know this because I know myself. Therefore, I know if I'm going to communicate, I'm going to be committed. And if I'm committed, then I'm going to become compatible. How am I knowing that? Because when I'm committed to this course, like we are now in these lessons and masterclasses, beyond this, we're actually compatible. Why? Because we're networking. There are things that Professor Dr. Queen Elizabeth would say in her wisdom that would resonate with me. And that becomes almost like mentoring me. There are things Dr. TPS has written in his books that are fascinating. Why? Because they resonate with me. There are certain factors people on this platform are teaching that we all learn from. Why? Because we are compatible in how we're networking. We know we want to keep growing. We know we want to keep learning together. So the essence of being here is I'm committed. I'm committed to myself to learn. I want to learn the art of communicating further because it benefits me in what I do to help humanity. I'm committed because there is a level of chemistry. I'm committed because I want to learn how do I develop myself? Again, I'm boiling it all down to the individual. There's the art of compromise, there's the art of commitment, there's the art of chemistry, there's the art of compatibility, there's the art of everything that's C. But in every essence of the C, there is a you. And if the you is not defined properly for you, then the C is not going to have any benefit for the next person. In any relationship, there's a you plus the person. There's a you plus the relationship. And if the you is not clearly defined for the C's to apply properly, then those C's are going to malfunction even in the relationship. So I'm going to pause there and say thank you again, ma'am, for having me. It's really been an honor to be here and for sharing. I'm really grateful. God bless.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing valuable information, even stirring our faith up, encouraging us that everything we have to do have to start from within. You have to, if you want to communicate with others, then you need to know how to communicate with yourself. And I believe that it's also down to the belief. How you believe in yourself is how you believe in others.
Yes.
And that way makes me to lead to my usual mindset. It's
Yes.
what is in your mindset that you believe in, that you will act on, that you will transfer to others. So how you
Yes.
see yourself is how you will see others. So how you communicate with yourself. And that is why sometimes we have to do some affirmation. I can do it. I am great. I am this. Because if you don't do it to yourself, other people will change your story for you. And that is why sometimes we live by what other people's opinion. That is why we live. And sometimes we are afraid to do something that is right because of people. Because we are afraid of what will people say. But if you start with yourself and prepare yourself and build your self-confidence and build your self-esteem, then you don't need to wait for somebody to affirm you or wait for somebody to approve you or wait for somebody to speak to you or to share their opinions. We are have right to share our opinion, but we need to prepare ourselves. So that is why it's so important, because 60% of people that are abusing others is because they abuse themselves. It's because they don't know who they are. They don't know their purpose. They think they are rubbish. And the only way they can live on is to rubbish others, to abuse others. But if they have the right thinking, the right mindset, then that will lead them to know that, yes, they are unique, they are special, they have greatness in them. And they say it to themselves, because what you continuously saying to yourself, you will become. So if you say, yes, I can do it, yes, I can manage my emotions, yes, I can control my life, yes, I can build my relationship, yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can. By the time you realize it, you will see that, yes, I am already. And if you can believe in yourself, then you can believe in others. For the past 50 years, I've been in the journey of just talking to everyone I've met, everywhere I'm working, everywhere. I keep telling them, if you know really who you are, you won't be doing what you're doing now. Because you have greatness in you, because you are special. Every day I leave my home, I'm looking for somebody I will say that to. Do you know that you are special even though you are sagging your trousers? The greatness is in you, you know. Even though you present yourself as if you are nobody, but you are somebody. You just have to pick yourself up and start believing in yourself that you can change the scenario of the world. You don't have to be what the world says you are.
Yes.
You have to be yourself. So the more you can communicate that to yourself, then the free you can communicate it to others.
Yeah.
If you say to yourself, I am powerful, and you keep saying it, one day you will see other people and say, do you know you are powerful? And guess what? People are fed up of negativity. People are
Mm-hmm.
fed up of everything that is going on in this world. Even if you switch on your TV, it's bad news. You read newspaper, it's bad news. Even some books now are bad news. Go to the
Yes.
social medias, it's bad news. So you need to change this scenario so that you can live on. Because sometimes this bad news can create mental health
Mm-hmm.
problem. This bad news can make somebody to give up their life because they can say something like, what is left for me? But then they have the ability, they have the power, they have the greatness in them to change, to renew their mindset, to change the way they see things, and to change their own situation, their relationship. If the whole world is saying that relationship doesn't work, you don't have to join the crowd. You can be the pioneer of greatness and say to them, even if they don't believe it, that relationships still work. And it's unique when you may know how to maintain it. And that is why we are doing this program, so that we keep reminding ourselves. In front of me, I've got so many professors, doctors, lawyers. But the only thing that brought us together is bonding.
Mm-hmm.
We are building our relationship so that we go out
Ma'am,
there
there's
and
something that I
duplicate.
thought of now. I just want to share
Yes.
very quickly.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, everything that I was speaking about is all about the individual and everything about the consistency, the commitments, the
Yes.
everything about the C's and connectiveness. Everything is about you as an individual. And we talk on our platforms here, especially this masterclass, is about transforming your relationships. So, in the same essence, I think, and especially with what you're saying, I think it's very key for us to take notes
Mm.
of, are all these C's actually linked to me as an individual? More importantly,
Yeah.
do I actually have a relationship with myself?
Yeah.
Every one of us needs to constantly reflect to ask, what is my relationship with myself?
Mm.
We focus sometimes so much on the relationship with other people that we tend to want that validity all the time from other people. But if I tend to focus on my relationship with me first, then I realize I am actually the powerhouse. I am somebody who's needy. I do have needs. I am not perfect, but I need to keep growing. I need to keep learning. And then, my relationship with me needs to keep growing. My relationship with me needs more communication, needs more self talk that's positive, needs more benefit to me. And the more I have, and you taught me this, ma'am, the more I give me, the more I can give off me. You taught me
Yes.
this. So thank you so
Yes.
much again for that
The
lesson.
more you add value to yourself. I
Yes.
mean, I have my mentor on the platform. In fact, I've got another mentor as well on the platform. And when I call them mentors, it's not an easy task.
I'm sure.
So be careful of who you are mentoring. You know, and that is why I mean I can as well be selfish and say to keep knocking their door, phoning them up, texting them and asking some questions and learning. But because I don't want to be me alone, I want all of us, because if 11 of us here can learn from my mentor, and then we go out there to demonstrate and to implement what we've learned,
Mhm.
you will see the difference. And like I always say, this mindset is very crucial. I can sleep and dream of this mindset because mindset is everything.
Mhm.
I mean, you can't think negative and act positive. It's not possible. You can't believe that something is not possible and then you are expecting possibility. It can't work that way. So you have to flow. And the only way to grow after renewing your mindset, the way to grow your mindset is what we're doing every day, every month, every year for 5 good years. Professor TPS has been there right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Reguna Paraka has been there right from even before Yes You Can International. And they still keep coming because I still want to drink from their wealth of wisdom. I mean, like I said to you, Professor TPS traveling. As from tomorrow now, he's not going to be here. So we have to take all this opportunity to sit him down and be pouring his wisdom and knowledge onto us. Professor Reguna is right in the hospital, lecturing and teaching on psychology, teaching the students and students upon teachers and all that. And he's still on duty and still find time to come and teach us here. So I do not take all these things for granted. Mrs. Evergreen from USA, wake up middle of the night to join this program. Even my other mentor, Professor General Ibora, probably in the background is in the office because he's also a great insurance expert. Pastor Awodiro supposed to be preaching and praying in his church right now. And that's why we have to give him the chance to quickly do it and move on. So we do not take our time for granted. And many, many leaders, Ambassador Rachel here in UK, probably she is in her office. Dr. Patricia from Zimbabwe is a great teacher, great lecturer. Dr. Anju from Nigeria. What can I say? But they love us. And they know that
and
this
they're committed,
platform,
and it's
and
committed.
they are committed to it. I mean, you
Yes.
heard me saying, for the past 3 or 4 years, Professor TPS is always, even when he's traveling, he tell me he's traveling, but one way or the other, he will tune in.
Mm-hmm.
And many people like that. So please, let's take it serious. Because all what we are doing is transforming our own lives and relationship.
Yes.
To influence others. Like I always say, you cannot change anyone. You can't change your children. You can't change your spouse. You can't change anyone. You cannot. But you can change yourself to influence. That's why we are leaders.
Yes.
So we keep transforming. We keep building. We keep renewing, growing our mindset. So thank you so much, Professor Mia from South Africa.